This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Go to audible.animanicast.com to not only pick up one, but 2 free audiobooks for free with your Audible trial. Just sign up at audible.animanicast.com.
Hi, this is Joey, and this is my real voice. I'm serious. Today's show brought to you by TeePublic. Go to the Animaniacast TeePublic store by going to teepublic.animanicast.com today. You better do it, or else my voice will be like this forever. Help me. Bye.
And welcome everybody to another Pinky and the Brain episode of the Animanicast.
Children of Earth, I hope you are having a pleasant Halloween. You are now my unwitting puppets in an intricate scheme of world domination. For I am the brain. You will do whatever I say.
We will do whatever you say. Flap your arms. Hop up and down.
Nerf!
Oh, and lick your toes.
Cease! You are interfering with my message of subjugation. Every word you utter is being beamed out over my jack-o'-lantronic broadcasting system through pumpkins everywhere.
Even that big furry pumpkin that's always pacing around our cage? Oh, wait. That's not a pumpkin. That's your head. Jaws! Sorry.
And welcome once again, everybody, to the Animanicast. This is the only podcast where you might ask yourself, what are we doing again tonight? And that, of course, is talking about another episode of Pinky and the Brain. And not just any episode of Pinky and the Brain, but a spooky episode of Pinky and the Brain. That's right, it's the Pinky and the Brain Halloween special. I am Joey, and joining me once again is my brother Nathan.
Oh, why don't you go to Hades?
And joining us across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. What a awful thing to say to your brother, Nathan.
I mean, you should go help Pinky. I don't know.
Oh yeah, go help him. Go find out where the food pellets are. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Today I figured since it's October, and I had free choice of all the Pinky and the Brain episodes in their catalog, that hey, we might as well do a Halloween episode, right? And
Sure.
Yeah, sure, why not? And so I was on Facebook, and Charles M. Howell was commenting on somebody's page about Pinky and the Brain. I think he was he was commenting on Kirk Tingblad's page that they were talking about how Pinky and the Brain had conquered the world a couple times, but how Brain had given it up, and this is one of those episodes. So that was intriguing to me. I have never seen this episode before, so I had to see one of the times where the Brain took over the world, and plus it's Halloween themed, at least for the first part themed. And so here we go. So have either of you seen this episode before? Nathan? No, neither one of you seen it? Okay, well, if someone were to ask you about this episode in just a few words, then what would you tell them, Nathan?
Well, Pinky and the Brain go trick-or-treating. And then they watch the episode, I'm like, that doesn't happen. I'd be like, made you see the episode.
That's right. Okay. Kelly, that was a very confusing summary. Kelly, what about you?
It was very, I don't know, it reminded me of, what is it? I want to say Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, but I think that's the name of the Buffy episode. The one where they the Animaniacs go and
oh yes, oh gosh, now what is that one where it's called the Okay, I found the episode. It's Hot. Oh gosh, now I lost it again. Okay, that episode's Hot, Bothered, and Bedeviled.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yes. The one with Tim Curry as the devil, and the Warners go down to... why were they going down to the... It's been so long since we've talked about that episode. I even forget why they went down to Hades, as they say in these cartoons. They don't say hell.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Except for one time where the brain might say help, but you may not.
Yeah,
hear the
he says
P.
help, but in the subtitles it doesn't say help.
Oh,
So, subtitles, they messed that up.
they messed up the joke. Come on. Well, anyway, so today is a Halloween episode. So Nathan, when was this episode originally released?
Okay, well, this was released on a Sunday. It was October 19th, 1997, and I believe it was prime time. And it was right around the time. So Disney Playhouse debuts its new children's television show, Bear in the Big Blue House.
Ooh.
It was the same weekend of the movie releases Bean and Devil's Advocate and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it was just 1 week before Chris Farley guest hosts Saturday Night Live and what would turn out to be his final television appearance.
I remember that one. That was a good last performance of him. I am El Nino. I just remember him doing that.
Was that the one with him and Patrick Swayze? No, that would have been when.
That was
Patrick Swayze-
early. Yeah.
That was early.
For those of you who don't habla español, El Nino is Spanish for the Nino.
You could tell, unfortunately, though, this was like Chris Farley died like a month or so later, I want to say. Like
It was December, I believe. So
yeah, yeah.
almost
so,
2 months.
Yeah, you could kind of tell, like, Chris Farley did not look healthy in this one. He was especially big, but he was still acting crazy, like always. But yeah, I miss Chris Farley. Too bad. I do remember, though, there was one movie that you mentioned that I actually did see in the theaters and didn't see What You Did Last Summer or anything like that, but I am a fan of Mr. Bean, so I did see Bean in theaters. And
I saw What You Did Last Summer twice in the theater. I liked it.
Wow. I've saw most of it just a couple months ago, but yeah, I still haven't seen.
You still haven't seen What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, I still don't know what you did. I just want to find out.
Can't find out.
Whenever I hear the Beatles' Yesterday song, I always think of Bean. So just yesterday, suddenly.
Yesterday,
Suddenly.
I'm not half the man I used to be. Oh, no. There's a shadow hanging over me. I believe in yesterday.
Suddenly.
Yes, and has Janosch from Ghostbusters in it, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great movie. Well, I don't know about great. It's
an
okay movie.
It's better than the sequel.
So, yes. So let's go ahead and get into this episode to figure out if this was a good episode or just an okay episode or a great episode. Let's get right into A Pinky in the Brain Halloween. And A Pinky in the Brain Halloween was directed by Kirk Tingblad, and it was written by Wendell Morris and Tom Shepard. And this all starts off, go figure, in Halloween. We have a interesting opening where it's, we have the normal Pinky the Brain opening, but then it gets into this, I think it's CGI opening.
Yeah, I say CGI.
Yeah, the leaves look very stiff, and they end up landing on a pumpkin that looks like something was painted in Microsoft Paint in the late 90s. It's still obviously not that cheap, but you could tell like this was a digital painting of the 90s. This was not hand drawn or anything. I don't think it was anyway. So already a different kind of opening for this. But we go to a town in who knows where, America, on Tingblad Drive, which I thought was a nice little note right there. Well, we have all these kids going trick-or-treating. Some of them dressed up as Fred Flintstone. I saw a wacko, I think, walking by in the distance.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, he's there for like a quick shot, and you can only see the back of his head. So, and we have a die, right, Nathan? Or one dice?
Yeah, there's a die. Yeah, like Fred Flintstone die. What?
And did you see a Pinky and the Brain? You said on the show.
Yeah,
notes
there's
here?
it's a literal pinky finger and a human brain.
Oh, I saw I saw a brain, but I didn't get what the other thing was. It was
a finger, which I assume would be a pinky, and then it's pinky in the brain.
I thought in the back of my head, I thought it was something else, and I'm not going to say what I thought it was. So,
oh gosh.
Good night, everybody.
Hot dog. Yeah, a hot dog. That's what I thought. Anyway, but let's see. You saw, what do you have in here, Nathan? A fairy vampire elf. Obviously, the ghost from Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown dressed up in a ghost costume, very similar. And they even have a similar joke with, what did you get?
I got 5 pieces of candy. I got a chocolate bar. I got a quarter. I got a rock. I got a candy bar.
I got an apple. I got a bowl of soup.
But I really like the fact that you pointed out that some of the other kids are dressed up as a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe. And I didn't get the connection, so good job, Nathan. By the way, I'm saying good job, Nathan, on these because Nathan went through a lot of these with because there are no reference guides.
We're just making it up ourselves. So
yep, we're making it up as we go. Well, what else is new? So, anyway, Pinky and the Brain, all of a sudden, this transmission comes through a jack-o'-lantern, and it starts saying to these kids to obey them. You obey everything I say, and the jack-o'-lantern automatically has these kids controlled, and Pinky, however, gets on there and tells them to, start jumping on one leg and everything. Turns out that Pinky and the Brain are in a pumpkin patch somewhere nearby, one would suppose, and they're transmitting this jack-o'-lantern transmitter, or whatever it's called. Jack-o'-lanto transmitter, I think it's what it's called. Something like that. Well...
yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so they're transmitting their messages through it, and they get into an argument, and chocolate gets all over the jack-o'-lantern transmitter.
Pinky, you got chocolate on my jack-o'-lantronic transmitter.
You got jack-o'-lantronic transmitter on my chocolate. Yummy!
Zord!
Very similar to Reese's commercials that I think happened before I may have even been born, but it seems like I used to always hear, you got chocolate on my peanut butter, you got peanut butter on my chocolate, just in cartoons. So
yeah, it's so referenced.
It's a reference I saw a lot in cartoons, but never actually saw on a commercial. So obviously it probably is a reference to a commercial, I'm supposing, in the early 80s or maybe even before that. And if I can find it, here it is.
Peanut butter.
Chocolate. You got peanut butter on my chocolate.
Well, you got chocolate in my peanut butter.
Bravissimo.
Two great tastes that taste great together. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Real milk chocolate. Good old-fashioned peanut butter.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
So anyway, that's there. That popped up. Anyway, they're getting into a fight, and the Brain says he's useless and he's never going to take over the world, and why does he even try? And this Walt Disney-ish type guy suddenly appears. It's Mr. Itch. And Mr. Itch, you can tell right away, this guy is filling in essentially for a demon devil guy.
Just what do I have to do to take over the world? I've tried everything short of selling my soul. Come, Pinky. We must prepare for tomorrow night.
Why? What are we going to do tomorrow night, Brain?
The same thing you did last night, and the night before that, and the night before that, and the night before that, and the night before that. And you'll fail. Just like you do every night of your puny lives.
He has the ability to jump around the pumpkin patch with a snap of his fingers, and he tells the brain that he will allow him to, he'll have him take over the world, because the brain did, in his frustration said, what does he have to do? Sell his soul? And so Mr. Twitch says, hey, for your soul, I'll take this, and that way you don't have to be this loser for the rest of your life. And the brain is very offended with being called like just a pathetic person, so he goes off in a huff. But Pinky, however, he realizes that he doesn't want to be useless, so of course Pinky, in exchange for a radish rose what's-a-mahoosit, sells his soul to the devil. And the brain, back at the lab, finds out about this, because outside everyone's cheering for the brain. He's ruling the world. But Mr. Itch takes away Pinky. It's a very sad moment, and for a moment the brain wonders if he should do anything about it.
All for me? Gee, thanks.
Gee, thanks. Come on! It's time to go. Say goodbye, Pinky.
Goodbye, Pinky.
Okay, bye. Am I terribly wrong here?
Hail brain! Hail brain! Hail brain!
Nah.
Hail brain! Hail brain!
And we go off to commercial. Luckily, that's not the end of the episode. Wouldn't that be horrible? But
Brain did it. The end.
The end. And all he had to do was sacrifice Pinky for the world. What a great guy. No, luckily series finale. Luckily this was not the last episode or anything like that. So let's go ahead and talk about some of your favorite moments in this, or some of the things I probably left out. Nathan, let's start with you. What was something you thought was cool in this first part?
I like that they set up a lot of stuff for the third act. I don't know how much I want to get into that without telling what happens in the third act.
Well, let's see. They mention Charles Grodin.
You see, Brain, I make it my business to know everything about everyone, except for Charles Grodin.
The Radish Rose What's-a-Mahoosit.
Yeah, they talk about Brains wanting to be a gymnast.
Yes,
his dreams have been...
he really wanted to be a rhythmic gymnastic guy, and I love the line right there with pouring salt on my festering wound or something like that. was a funny line.
That man knows everything about you, Brain.
He's just been eavesdropping, Pinky. He doesn't know the first thing about me.
I know about the time you decided to chuck it all in order to train for rhythmic gymnastics.
Point! And they wouldn't let you compete because of the height requirement.
Oh, why don't you just pour salt on my festering wound?
It's cute.
Yeah.
And then some great weird choppy cuts, I guess, that
yeah, there are some moments where it's in the pumpkin patch you were pointing out, Nathan, how the Mr. Itch kind of jumps from one place to the other, and so do Pinky and the Brain from one place to the other. I didn't really notice it, but yeah, if you notice,
I only noticed it because of Kirk Tingblad getting upset about it.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later before we get to our Water Tower rating and everything. But there's some drama behind this episode, which was kind of interesting. And just so for the record, Gary Marshall right there. Please call me Gary Marshall.
Right.
If you
Mr.
get
Marshall.
that, Mr. Marshall, please call me Mr. Marshall. If you get that joke, by the way, without looking it up on Google, then Nathan and I really like you a lot because you listen to the same podcasts we listen to. Anyway, he's Mr. Itch is based off of Walt Disney, sort of. I guess.
He's he looks like Walt Disney.
He does,
guess, right?
I think Kirk Tingblad said on when he posted some information about this on Facebook a while back. He said he just kind of took it over to Neil Sternecki, and they came up with this design for kind of a Walt Disney-ish kind of character from the 1930s as an evil. So he's a, evil Walt Disney. There you are. Voiced by Gary Marshall, famous director, creator of shows like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley and many, many other things. So there you are.
And this is not his first time playing a devil.
Really? What did he play a devil on before?
Hocus Pocus, 1993, I think, came out.
Never saw it.
I've never seen that.
What? Okay, well,
that's the reaction everybody gets.
I know.
He's the devil in Hocus Pocus. He's not like the act. I think he's this guy that's dressed up as the devil, and the witches think he's the devil. It's funny.
I'll watch Hocus Pocus when Disney Plus comes out. That's like, okay. I've already got my 3-year subscription in, and so I'll have all the time in the world to watch every Disney movie ever. I have the feeling, though, that I'm not going to like Hocus Pocus as much as everybody who was a kid when they watched the movie. And as a kid, I just don't think... but that's just my expectations are low, so maybe they'll be easy to...
have low expectations, and...
We should watch it at the same time and live tweet it.
Ooh, live tweeting. Well, we might just do that this Halloween. We'll keep everybody posted. Who knows? Probably don't hold your breath, but who knows? So, anywho, Kelly, what did you notice in this first part that you thought was interesting?
Well, his name, Mr. Itch. There's a name for the devil, which is like Old Scratch. So I think that's funny.
There we go.
So I thought, what? She just said, "There you go."
Yeah, I was just confused why he was called Mr. Rich. I was like, Mr. Rich, maybe.
No.
See, there's a devil in Santa Claus in the Mystery Science Theater film. I think it's just called Santa Claus, the one they parodied. And I think, the one I'm talking about, Nathan, where it's just Santa Claus. It's not Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. It was the second one they did. And Santa Claus is in it, and there's a devil character. And I think he's called Pitch or Twitch or something like that, too, or something similar in it. That's all I kept thinking about. But anyway, still a very kind of devil-y name. I did like the one part right there where Mr. Itch turns out to have him sign, and his eyes turned fire, and that looked really cool. It looked very like Fleischer, like 1930s kind of style right there, with the smile, the big teeth, and the fire eyes, and everything like that. So there's some cool little animation moments in here too. So, and lots of cool costumes. So, yeah.
And I don't think you mentioned the lawyers, Greta Von Blosta and Jerry Spensive, but they're also on this first part.
So Greta Von Blosta is parodying these are two people that are both very much alive. One of them is pretty old. Jerry Spensive is actually a parody of a guy named Jerry Spence, who used to be on a lot of shows. I don't think he looks too much like his caricature, other than he wears kind of like that same kind of Davy Crockett kind of jacket and a lot of...
He has kind of a big nose.
Sort of. He kind of looks the same. But Greta Van Susteren was on CNN at the time as a legal analyst, and I believe now she's on Fox News. So she's still actively doing stuff. So, yeah, there you go. So, Nathan, tell us what happens here in part 2.
Well, Brain is now ruler of the world, and, he's not happy as he thought he would be. He's, fine with it, I guess, but, he's got Snowball there, which we haven't talked about Snowball on this podcast yet. He hasn't been in any episodes that we've done yet, but I remember Snowball. He's this other guy that's also trying to take over the world, except instead of a mouse, he's a hamster. He's also very smart.
He's the Hordak to the Skeletor, sort of, right? He's the third guy they bring in to kind of mix things up, who also wants to take over Eternia or the world or whatever.
But Hordak lives on Etheria.
That's true. Hordak does it, but I would see him. I wouldn't pay attention to the She-Ra episodes with Hordak. I'd only see him when he popped into the He-Man universe as a kid, and that's all I know about him.
Yeah, I watched both. I was an equal opportunity, He-Man watcher person.
Well, anyway, so there's who's he voiced by again? This is Roddy McDowell. Roddy McDowell.
Yeah.
And Roddy McDowell, of course, I think he's most known for being one of the Planet of the Apes is what I recognize him from the most. So, yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? That's Pinky's wheel.
Aha! You do miss Pinky.
No, I miss the food pellets. I don't know where Pinky kept them.
Then, Brain, why don't you go to Hades?
What?
To ask Pinky where the food pellets are.
So it's exciting. Yeah, so we've got our first snowball of our show.
Yeah, first snowball.
Just so happens that Snowball has a map to Hades. So Brain decides to go, and Snowball takes the crown, and now he's going to be king of the world, I guess, like Titanic. And
they missed an opportunity with that. Although
right?
This was before Titanic.
I think it was before Titanic.
Yeah, how would they know? Well,
Brain's following the map. He goes to the DMV. And it's like, this can't be right. But lo and behold, on the DMV sign, Hades, and it points straight down. So
nothing like a good DMV joke at the.
Yep. And Brain's complaining like, "Oh, glad I don't have to wait in any more lines." And he looks, and there's a huge line to get into Hades. So cut to where's Pinky? He's in the Lava Lounge, and he's having a great time. You think, what, Lava Lounge, some sort of comedy club or something? No, it's a torture club, but Pinky's loving the torture. His arms and limbs are getting pulled, and he thinks it's more fun than when they coated him in peanut butter and stuck him in an anthill. And, the devil, he is not liking it. He's getting annoyed by his own little minions who are also saying narf now because of Pinky's just a bad influence, I guess. And cut to Brain. Oh, he's finally at the front of this line, and he's talking to the receptionist, and we find out that Brain is not on the list.
I'm sorry, you're not in the database.
Perhaps you have me under my other name, Rush Limbaugh.
Say, you look much bigger on TV.
Well, that last wheatgrass and jicama nearly did me in. Golly, I guess it did.
Lamarche, Leno, Limburger. No, Limbaugh isn't in here either. It must be an oversight. Welcome to Hades.
Brain celebrates, and then he's like, wait, why am I celebrating? I'm in help. He says help. And then...
What am I celebrating? I'm in hell!
That's not what the closed captioning said.
Oh, no. So we cut back to Pinky. He's in a paint can, and he's like, he's just having it like so much fun. And then we find out he was been on some lava rocks, a barbecue, but he thinks it's just a nice like sauna kind of thing. The only thing that he's upset about is being away from his best friend, Brain. And cut to Brain is now in the room, and he's going to try to get Pinky back so he can get the food pellets, because he doesn't know where they are.
Oh, Brain, you need me!
I do not. I just need to know where you keep the food pellets.
Oh, point. Well, they're in that box marked, food pellets.
Oh. Well, I don't know where that is, so I guess you'll just have to come and show me. All right, get a move on. Time's a-wasting, Pinky. Let's go.
Nice try.
But the devil's not going to have it. In order to get Pinky back, Brain's got to challenge him in some sort of competition. So Brain gets to choose the competition, and of course it's going to be the gymnastics.
Rhythmic gymnastics.
The rhythmic gymnastics. So, and then we also find out right before commercial break that the devil created rhythmic gymnastics. So, and
stay tuned.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there were some references here that we noticed. Like, of course, there's a Rush Limbaugh one, but I like the part that this receptionist, by the way, is parodying a Saturday Night Live sketch that David Spade would be in, that he would just say, "And you are," I believe that's what he would say, right, Kelly? Something along those lines. Yeah, he would just like kind of block the people. He'd just be the sarcastic receptionist.
Making copy.
Wrong guy. Rob Schneider.
Uh-huh. And he would know you because you...
You know, Hammer Time.
Hammer Time. Is that a TV show or something? I don't really...
No, look, I'm a rapper, and actually I'm pretty well known. You know, you might have heard my song. Boom, 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 can't touch this.
I'm sorry, I don't really listen to much music. More of a reader. I'm sure you're very gifted. If you could just have a seat. And can I just get your last name? I'm not sure Hammer would ring a bell.
Look, it's Hammer. You know, like Madonna?
Right, and she is...
Your mama. Never mind, forget it.
This isn't a time like in the mid '90s when Saturday Night Live was not good. I mean, in my opinion, it stopped being good when Phil Hartman left, and then it didn't start getting good until Will Ferrell got on. There's like that time period, at least in my opinion, that it just wasn't funny. And I was in the right demographic, I thought, for it, because I was in high school at the time, where you think I just laugh at anything stupid that Adam Sandler would be doing, but I don't know. In my opinion, it just wasn't that great. In spite of, Chris Farley and everybody being on it. Anyway.
I think it peaked with Mike Myers and Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey, yeah. See, and that was great. It was, and Phil Hartman was on those years, and
it's really good.
That was great. But yeah, then the mid '90s came, and it was just a very young cast at the time, and I don't think it was that good.
Segments.
Yeah, they have some stuff that still lives. I don't know as much of the David Spade one. I don't think that's as iconic anymore. So,
well, I was pouring myself some coffee the other morning, and I was like, I don't know. I guess I was in a weird mood, and I just started going, making coffee, the coffee meter, coffee rum, and I'm like, what the heck? I don't know what was. I hadn't even had my coffee yet, so I don't know what that was about. But I was like, I hadn't even thought about that sketch in years. So.
Well, of course they mentioned Rush Limbaugh, and Rush Limbaugh used to be just an incredibly overweight guy, and they mocked him for being very overweight in lots of, whether it was Saturday Night Live or cartoons or things like that. And since then, he's lost quite a bit of weight, and they even allude to his weight loss fast in this one. But they mention some important people in here. Leno is on the list, Jay Leno. Limburger cheese, Limburger cheese is pretty smelly. Should go to Hades. And LaMarche. So very cute that Maurice LaMarche is expected to be in Hades someday. Very, very cute. Especially that the brain was the one asking about it. So that was cute. And Billy West does the voice of the receptionist. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, Billy West.
Voice of Fry.
This is the first time, and Stimpy, and many, 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 many other characters. Mm-hmm. This is the first time, I think, at least in our discussions, we've ever had a character on our show that has been voiced by Billy West. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it is.
It's the first time we're mentioning it, at least.
That's very true. In 160 something episodes, it's the first time we've mentioned Billy West.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, but what were some moments that you guys really thought were cool in this one? Kelly, let's start with you.
Well, we already talked about the David Spade parody.
Yeah.
So I thought that was... I felt it was a little obscure because that was like going way back, but not at this time, of course. So
yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, wow, I actually remember that segment. So I like that. And then the whole running gag of the brain talking about, I don't want to see you, Pinky. I just want to find out where the food pellets are stored.
Yeah, it's so transparent. It's like, whatever, brain. Yeah, I like that too. Nathan, what about you?
Snowball. I mean, I had forgotten about him until seeing
That's
this.
true.
So it was kind of fun. Just like, oh, that's who the other character was. So
yeah, that guy. I know Roddy McDowell. I remember Roddy McDowell in Snowball, like in blurred moments. So it'll be nice as we continue to talk about Picking the Brain episodes. We'll have to we'll have to talk about Snowball and his first appearance and stuff like that.
Yeah, we should definitely do his first appearance, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess let's go ahead and move on to the third segment. And Kelly, what happens in the third part?
Well, Mr. Itch and the Brain have decided to have this competition with the rhythmic gymnastics. And Brain's pretty confident that he's going to do very well. And he does this routine to, what is it, the love song of Charles Grodin or something?
Yes.
Something. And so Charles Grodin gets mentioned again. And for those who don't know, John Tesh used to be one of the announcers of Entertainment Tonight.
Yes.
Which here in Georgia always airs concurrently with, even now, with Jeopardy. So I used to record Entertainment Tonight and watch Jeopardy live, because then I'd go back and fast forward through Entertainment Tonight, and anytime I saw Steven Spielberg or George Lucas, I would stop and get the entertainment news, because that's what we had to do back in the day before the internet.
Yep, that was the internet.
That's how I got my news.
Yep, had to do it.
So they have this rhythm. So he's dancing to this Charles Grodin song, or gymnasticking to this Charles Grodin song. I'm making up words now, and he does really well. He gets 10, and so I mean you can't beat that, right? But Mr. Itch actually gets an 11, and Brain's like, no, that's not fair. That's not right.
A remarkable routine. He stuck the landing. Artistry and emotion blended in such a seamless, creamy texture. Bravo. Bravo, I say.
An 11? Why, that's impossible.
You should know by now, Brain, nothing's impossible for me.
Cheater.
If you review the contract, you'll see that it provides there be a competition. It doesn't say anything about a fair competition. Now, if you'll excuse me, I believe Pinky and I have a date with some interesting new tortures.
So basically he cheated, and that's not cool. So he said that Pinky's is his forever, and he says bye to the Brain, and the Brain's getting all upset. And but Pinky points out that in his contract, he was supposed to get one of these, was it rosy radish thing? Whatchamadoodle?
Who's it, I think.
Who's it? And gadgets and gizmos aplenty. And
if I gave you my soul, you'd give me a radish rose who's it?
Oh, of course. Here you are.
This isn't a radish rose who's it? It's a happy face of dried apple dingo-switchy. No, this is an orange juicerator. Do you know what? I'm beginning to think you don't even know what a radish rose who's it is.
Of course I do. It's a little thingy, with a round part and a serrated doohickey in the other up and down.
And he's like, I don't even think you know what a who's it is. He's like, yeah, I totally do. And Brain's like, no, you don't. And because you're not honoring this part of the contract, that makes it null and void. So they bring in the lawyers, and they say, yeah, I mean, the contract, it's not binding anymore because you didn't honor your part of the agreement. And so the contract disintegrates, and Snowball had been working on turning the statue of the Brain into a statue of himself, and now he's thinking he's taking over the world, and everything starts disappearing, and Pinky and the Brain appear again, and he's not very happy about that.
Hiya, Snowball. We're back.
What? You? It can't be. I'll speak to that devil. Promises were made.
I'll bet he doesn't stand a snowball's chance in Hades.
But they're back where they belong, and Brain says, well, we gotta get ready for tomorrow night. Like, gee, Brain, what are we gonna do? And it's like, try to take over the world. So they're back to their usual selves.
Yes.
Nice.
So, there we go. There's our Halloween episode. Nathan, I don't think there was. I mean, we already talked about John Tesh. I mean, that was like the biggest And I guess instead of the Mile High, it's the Mile Down Stadium, which was cute. But that's pretty much it for the references, I think.
That's all I found, at least. Yeah.
So what were some moments that you liked, Nathan?
I like when the devil turns into his other form or whatever, is chasing the Pinky and the Brain.
And instead of saying I love lawyers, he says I hate lawyers.
Yeah, that was a good rule of
reversing
three. I think.
it. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, fun little. I don't know. It was just nice that it all like built up to it. So the stuff from the first act it carries over to the third act. So it's kind of fun.
Exactly. It's nice to hit those notes once again, story wise. Kelly, what about you? Anything that you thought were of note that you didn't mention, or things that you liked?
I thought the Brain's gymnastics routine was just kind of cute.
You did
with twirling the ribbon and everything. It was cute.
I do like it when we get to the sensitive side of Brain in these cartoons from time to time, and how important rhythmic gymnastics was to the Brain, and just to the fact that there's this scene, there's this really part where Pinky's being dragged off, and the Brain is saying things like, "Well, I guess I won't be seeing you anytime soon, or actually forever, and so have a good time being tortured."
Well, Pinky, I guess I won't see you for a while. That is, anytime soon. In fact, well, gosh, never again, huh?
Enough warmth. Let's go, Pinky.
Don't be sad, Brain. I'm sure you'll find those food pellets one day.
Yeah, the food pellets. That's all I really wanted. Well, you have a nice time being tortured for all eternity, okay?
I will, Brain.
Zord!
Very, cute stuff. But there's some stuff that went on behind the scenes that I think we should talk about before we get to the Water Tower rating of this episode, and that was the drama behind the scenes. Ooh. So on Facebook, and by the way, I did ask Kirk if this was okay to share, and he said yeah. So we have some cool sketches that Kirk put up on his Facebook page, both character model sheets and then also a great sketch of expression sheet showing what the Mr. Itch would look like as the quote-unquote monster right there. It's so funny that they had to get around all these little things, like couldn't say the devil, I suppose, or hell, or things like that. It really didn't you get that sense throughout this entire episode? They couldn't say that, probably for censors or something.
They definitely were trying not to say. Yeah, exactly. I like on the drawing of the monster form, and like notice he still has a weak chin, like Walt Disney. I guess.
Yeah, that's funny.
Fun. Yeah.
Well, we'll have these drawings on our web page right there at animanicast.com or at RetroZap. We'll take you over there, and you'll be able to see these pictures, nice detailed pictures and everything. But Kirk Tingblad does mention on Facebook that he remembered getting into a huge fight with Rusty Mills about having the episode sent to TMS. And again, when he showed him the finished product, there's a horrible jump cut in the first act. So that must be what Nathan's talking about right there with the pumpkins. And he says, I don't know if there was ever a chance to have those things changed, but I pretty much didn't speak with him again until after Wacko's Wish. A few years later, we got together at the Union Christmas party and made up. And Charles M. Howell, of course, who produced the show at the time, says, I think Rusty's hands were tied. After the first season of Pinky and the Brain, the schedule was sped up to 1/2 hour a week, which we never were able to meet, and the budgets were slashed. TMS was a lot more expensive, and I think it was just out of the question. Fortunately, we had great talents like you, the writers, and other artists, and great voices, and quality came through anyway. And Kirk responds, be that as it may, if the same consideration to making the Halloween special look as good as the Emmy-winning Christmas had, it would have fared better, and to put it painfully obvious jump cut in the first act made me look like I didn't know what I was doing. Rusty did not tell me at the time that there was a money concern, only that it was Rough Draft's turn in the cycle. Anyway, I thought every other aspect of the special was excellent. The writing, boards, designs, backgrounds, and props all did excellent work, which is why I fought to have it sent to the top studio. It was nominated for an Annie Award, which I found out 20 years after it originally aired, but hey, at least I've gotten over it. Can you imagine how angry I would get if I was unable to let it go?
Yeah, it sounds like he's really let it go.
But anyway, they go on to just talk about how it has a it says the Times had a and then they just talk to each other. It's great. This is the benefits of being friends on Facebook with the people who actually created the show, because you get these little behind the scenes stories from time to time, and that's neat. That's a little animation history on your Facebook page. It sure is nice to mix that in with all the political drama there is on Facebook and everything, to just have listen about cartoon drama instead. That's different. That's more fun.
Anyway, more real.
Yeah, exactly. Anywho, so I guess if there's nothing else, is there anything else we want to point out that you guys really like before we get to our Water Tower rating? Nathan, Kelly?
No.
Call me Gary.
Call me Gary. Call me Gary. Let's go ahead and get to he should have said, call me Itch, please. Call me Mr. Itch. Oh, anyway, let's go ahead and get to our Water Tower rating. All right, so let's talk about it. Out of 5 water towers, how many water towers would you give this episode of Pinky and the Brain? Nathan, let's start with you.
Oh boy, it's so hard because I've seen it so many times now. I'll just say 3.5. I think it's pretty good, and yeah, like I can't even tell anymore whether I like it anymore because I just know it well enough. So yeah, 3.5.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'll go with 4. There were a lot of little details, like the costumes early in the episode, and play on words and things like that with the costumes, and lots of little details that you might miss, the first time you watch it. And I thought the recurring gag about the whatchamahoosit was really funny. And,
yes.
Brain's eyes filling with tears when he thought he'd never see Pinky again. I thought that was really sweet. So, I liked it.
All right, and I will give it. I'll give it 3.5 as well. I think it's a very good episode, really solid. I do agree with Kirk Tingblad that it's a shame that TMS wasn't able to, do the animation for this, because while it's mostly good, there are some moments where it's kind of like the models just seem, I don't know, just a little bit off from time to time, and whenever that happens, like we were just talking with Tom Ruger about a few weeks ago about freelance animation, how their animation just kind of distracted you from the writing. That did happen, and it wasn't until I watched this episode the second time I was able to pick up on a lot of the details that I was missing. So I'm going to say 3.5 just for those reasons, because it was great, but I think it just could have been a little bit better. One thing, I probably would have given this a 4 if Baloney was in this episode.
Oh yeah,
like he probably was going to be, apparently.
Yeah,
because he's listed in the credits.
Yeah, we have him. I'm sure he even recorded.
Yeah. Jeff Glenn Bennett was apparently doing Baloney's voice, and we're all assuming he's probably in Hades someplace. But I'm guessing for time was cut. So who knows? Maybe somewhere there's.
I would think it would have been a torture to Pinky.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good
would have
scene.
Liked it a lot, anyways.
Yeah.
Would have been.
We're missing that somewhere. Maybe somebody out there has that animation in there. Tom Ruger's been putting out a lot of deleted scenes. Did you guys see the deleted scene of from Tiny Toon Music Television? This is on our Facebook page, by the way. and it shows what they were originally going to have at the end of that episode, which was Plucky Duck, and they're doing like a quiz.
Uh-oh, how are we going to finish the show? We have just enough time for a Name Today's video game. Is the contestant ready? Here we go. Name those videos. Respect, and money, and Particle Man, and I know it. Constantinople!
Oh, I am so sorry. The correct answer is Istanbul, not Constantinople.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. So, that's over on the Facebook page right there. So you should check that out. It's really cool. Then he also put some pencil tests out for Skippy and Slappy for their first appearance, and it's just really cool. So somewhere out there might be baloney, at least pencil tests out there on some tape out there. Maybe Charles M. Howell or Tom Ruger has it somewhere in their, archives. There's baloney footage out there, people. Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let's get to some contact information. Kelly, where can people get in contact with you online?
You can email me, Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com, or find me on Twitter at Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS.
All right, and Nathan, what about you?
Oh, well, Joey, I'm on Twitter. Django FT, that's me.
All right, and as for the Animaniacast, well, we are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we're on Discord. You can go to the RetroZap Discord server by simply going to discord.animaniacast.com, and that way you could talk to us as well as all the other people over at RetroZap, and you can talk about anything pop culture related, because whether it's Star Wars things like Brews and Blasters and Kanata's Castle talk about, or perhaps just pop culture in general like Techno Retro Dads, or video games like the ARG Cast, or movies like the Deuce Cast, RetroZap has you covered when it comes to pop culture needs. In fact, what you should do is subscribe to the RetroZap podcast feed on your favorite podcast player, and that way you can get every single RetroZap podcast delivered right to your podcast player for free, including this one. So that's pretty cool. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
How did he do that, Brain?
Mirrors or wires. Any idiot can do it.
No, I can't.